Paramount merger with Skydance saga continues. And to be honest, it's getting a bit like a soap opera. But if you are a Star Trek fan, and you are hoping this merger will go through quickly so that we can figure out what the future of Star Trek is, I'm going to disappoint you. Because this has become a political mess. Welcome to the Tachyon Pulse podcast.
Our Tachyon pulse has been unable to completely penetrate the anomaly.
I've been told many times I'm not allowed to talk politics on this podcast because it's not about sci-fi. I'll just remind people that think that, though. It's my podcast, so I can actually talk about what I want. But on this, it is genuinely relevant to things that I do care about. Star Trek, basically. And we really need the merger between Paramount and Skydance to go through, because then Skydance can get in and decide what the future of Star Trek is actually going to be. So what is actually holding up the process? Why is the FCC stalled in its decision making? And the FCC being the Federal Communication Commission, the people that need to sign off on this merger. Well, it does come down to Trump. And I'm just going to be clear again. I'm not going to be talking about a political view here. I'm just going to be talking about facts. And the facts are that Donald Trump was actually asked about the merger in an interview a couple of days ago. He was asked generally, why is the merger being delayed? And his answer was to ignore the question completely and talk about CBS and the 60 Minutes lawsuit. Now, once or twice I've actually mentioned this lawsuit in other podcasts, and I've said he was suing for $2 billion. He's not. He's suing for $20 billion. So what basically happened, if you're not aware, is that Donald Trump is suing 60 Minutes, it is operated by CBS, because he said one of the questions that Kamala Harris was asked during a 60 Minutes interview was edited to make her look more favourable. That she answered the question so badly she'd have lost the election. Hint here, she did lose the election. And it was edited to make him look more favourable. So instead of going to the FCC to make a complaint, which is the normal process, he decided to take a legal action and sue for $20 billion. Now, I told you guys a long time ago, and this has actually been confirmed several times since, that after I spoke to a legal professional in the industry, they told me there is no basis for this lawsuit. The main problem being that he won the lawsuit. You know, he won the election, so there are no damages. But also, the First Amendment in the United States protects free speech. And in fact, all they did was edit the interview. They didn't actually actively try to make her look better or worse. They edited the video similarly to how they've done a million times before. It's standard practice. I actually like how Donald Trump was talking about this in an interview, and he asked the journalists about this and said, they were edited to make her look good. I don't think you guys would ever do that for me. Then he specifically picked out a journalist, said, you wouldn't ever do that for me. And the journalist just went, I think it's done on a daily basis. And he just went, well, I've never seen it. But I think we can admit that TV, in interviews, etc., do edit things. And sometimes that can be misleading. But generally speaking, it's just for time's sake and things like that. So anyway, this is moving forwards. This lawsuit is moving forwards at the moment, even though many legal experts have come out and said it's got no basis. The Paramount lawyers have offered a $15 million settlement. The Trump lawyers have come back and said we want $25 million. Many people that work in and around Paramount, and particularly people that work for CBS and 60 Minutes, etc., have said that if Paramount pay this money, they will take legal action themselves and they will claim bribery. This is actually coming from shareholders of Paramount, elected officials, and several watch groups. It does smack as bribery to me. The FCC, headed by Brendan Carr, which is a Trump appointee, has not released any information about why the merger between Skydance and Paramount is delayed. They're not working on it at all, though. They're not going through the process. This was supposed to be complete now. It was supposed to be done, finalised, signed off. but it's actually just on hold with the FCC. They're not even talking about it. It's not like it's being bogged down, filibustered or something. They're just not managing it. They're just not dealing with it at all. Brendan Carr has talked about how they will look favourably on companies that support DEI. And I think, well, from previous videos I've been talking about Star Trek, and 60 Minutes in fact, it does seem that Paramount are trying to navigate these quite unusual waters, and I've heard rumours even that that's one of the reasons why Strange New Worlds was delayed, because they were actually editing it slightly to make it a little bit more Trump-patable. I just made up a word. Trump-patable. Okay, we're going with that now. Now, Trump has actually come out and spoken very favourably of David Ellison, the guy that is going to be the new CEO at Paramount Skydance once the merger goes through. They actually met, I think it was like at a UFC fight or something, but they actually met, and witnesses to this conversation said it was quite heated, but they ended the meeting with a very firm handshake, and after the interview, Trump was very positive about David Ellison and what a great job he thinks he'll do when he is the CEO over at Paramount. But to be honest, this story gets even more complicated, if that was possible. There was another company that tried to buy Paramount, and they actually offered more money than Skydance. But because of the way the share voting rights are structured, it's very heavily in favour of Cherie Redstone, who is the owner of National Amusements, that owns the controlling shares in Paramount. She is currently the acting CEO. So, ISS, which is the Institute for Shareholder Services, have come out in the last few days and actually said, we advise all of the shareholders not to vote Cherie Redstone back in as the CEO, because the merger hasn't gone through. They're actually going to have their annual sort of like big board meeting thing, and they have to vote in a CEO, etc., for the coming year. There's 4 or 5 of them that are basically stood unopposed, including Cherie Redstone, that ISS are actually saying don't vote for them. They're going to get voted in by the board, and then it goes to the shareholders, and they're saying don't vote for them. The reasoning? Problematic capital structure. Basically means like cash flow, etc. That the way the business's debt, etc., is managed is poor. Executive payment scheme. They've basically said that several of the executives are on too much money, and that the contracts that they've got basically means if they were to be terminated or quit, they get like $15 million or something silly. So they said that's problem. And also the way the shares voting system is set up, which basically means that not everybody gets a vote in these things. Cherie Redstone controls the bulk of it. ISS support the one vote, one share sort of policy, which would basically have meant that the B shareholders, the ones that are by far the largest sort of owner of shares within the company, had virtually no vote and no say on this decision about who would then buy the company. And the Skydance deal was specifically structured that in a way that it favoured Cherie Redstone financially. The rest of the shareholders are looking at it going, yeah, but we get screwed. So this other company is actually going through legal action at the moment, even though I'm told, again, that has little basis and little chance of actually going anywhere, because the shareholders all knew this structure. They knew that Cherie Redstone had controlling interest in the votes, etc. So they sort of haven't really got much of a case to sort of... It's a bit like you go into a restaurant, you'll get told what the menu is, you get told exactly how much it's going to cost, you eat your dinner and then moan about how much it costs. You went in knowing exactly what you were buying, sort of thing. It would be different if the food was then no good, but it's not. You're getting exactly what you told you were going to get. So they don't have a basis, but they can still try. The problem is things like this complication with Trump is increasing the financial pressure on Paramount. And to be honest, in some ways, Skydance as well. They need the merger to go through. And the issues, like I mentioned with Star Trek, with that the current Secret Hideout Alex Kurtzman deal ends in the summer of next year, just gets more and more difficult to actually resolve. This is a business that requires constant decision making. And at the moment, Paramount Global is completely paralyzed. They can't make any decisions going forwards. A lot of people think that the fact that we're just not getting any new Star Trek is just down to the merger. And it is in a way, but it's down to Paramount thinking they've got a deal that ends in September. We can't greenlight a new show because they'll spend all that money setting it up and they won't be able to make it if Skydance decide not to renew their contract. So because these decisions can't be made, it's harming the company as a whole, not just our beloved Star Trek. So, is this a bribery claim? Is this really another example of corruption from the Trump administration? Whether you support Trump or not, it's really hard not to say that, yeah, this is a bribe and it's solicited. So, it's what the mob used to do. Just saying, it is. If you boil this down, Trump is telling the FCC to delay, which is happening, and demanding $25 million off Paramount for a baseless lawsuit. CBS has actually come out in the last few days again and said that this illegal action has absolutely no basis in law. And every legal expert that's publicly come out and said has agreed. The future is an odd one at the moment. And until this gets resolved, I don't really know what's going to happen. But apparently, Sri Redstone supports just paying the bribe. And from the fact that David Ellison and Trump have met and obviously discussed this, something that, by the way, the other people that bought it said, well, that's not allowed. And they went, no, they're not the decision makers, so it is allowed for them to discuss this. And I would argue they're not really the decision makers. They are the decision makers. So, yeah, but because Trump was so publicly favourable of him, I suspect this will be agreed quite quickly and the FCC will get off its backside very quickly. And as soon as Paramount give Trump $25 million, they will allow the process to continue and the merger to happen. But guys, get into the comments and tell me what you think, because this is complicated. And, politics do come into this, which is unfortunate. But really, my only concern is Star Trek and what will happen with Star Trek if this merger is delayed and delayed and delayed. What do you guys think, though, about the larger political aspect of it? Is this one small example in lots of ways, though, about how the political structure in the world at the moment, and not just America, is actually affecting things in a real way? Get into the comments and tell me exactly what you think, as you always do. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out and you'll never miss any of our new videos. Also, you can become a member of this channel that really supports us and you get to see a lot of our videos before everybody else. Go check that out. As always, please stay safe and I'll see you next time.
Our tachyon pulse has been unable to completely penetrate the anomaly.